Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episodes 6 and 7 of Season 3 of Star Wars Rebels, Iron Squadron, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, Job. Okay, so once again I'm having to review two episodes altogether, simply because I'm trying to catch up after events kind of knocked the schedule seriously out of whack earlier this month. If you watched my recent channel update video, you'll understand why. Anyway, let's just kind of get right into it. And honestly, as a whole, I kind of felt both of these episodes were a little on the weak side. Both of them kind of like something happens that's probably going to pay off later on this season, but they just don't really feel like the strongest of episodes. Particularly, let's just call it the heist job, because I cannot pronounce the name of that planet. It's just sort of like, hey, here's Hondo, and he's being Hondo, and Hondo is amusing, and oh yeah, the rebels finally get their hands on these proton bombs that they've been trying to get for a long time. And you kind of think it's going to go somewhere when Zeb is all like, you need to learn that you really, really, really cannot trust Hondo. And yet, Hondo does exactly what Hondo always seems to do, and things pretty much work out for the rebels. I mean, Ezra's idea worked out well for everybody. Actually, Hondo ended up being helpful. So I was kind of hoping for some sort of like serious betrayal that would permanently turn Ezra against Hondo, but it just doesn't happen. And it's just sort of very anticlimactic. I mean, there was some nice action. We got to see that surly droid again, but I mean, it just doesn't really feel particularly like a strong episode to me. Now, Iron Squadron had a little bit better stuff going on here. In fact, it reminded me a little bit of that movie Red Dawn, like the good version of the movie from the 1980s, not the remake. Where you basically have these high school kids fighting the Russian military after Russia invades the United States. In the remake, I think they changed it to China. It was a pretty absurd movie. But you basically have these three teenage kids who are trying to fight the Empire, and they get lucky at the beginning. But I really like how it's very obvious they have no idea really what it is they're getting themselves into. I mean, they even sort of, in a lot of ways, seem a little bit like Season 1 Ren and Ezra. I mean, Mark even kind of looks like Ezra. And they seem to sort of treat fighting the Empire almost like a game. And they're just sort of getting by on just sheer, as an old man might say, gumption. But I mean, it's very obvious. I mean, their ship is falling apart, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, it's fine. We just like it this way." They don't want to accept help from anybody, even though they obviously need it. And I mean, they don't even know what a Star Destroyer actually looks like. I mean, it's very obvious that these guys have been getting by on more luck than anything so far, and that the Empire is really eventually going to bring the hammer down on them, and they're going to get mashed. And that's exactly what happens this episode. And it's just sort of one of those things where, youthful enthusiasm is all well and good, but ultimately you have to be pragmatic about things, particularly when the thing that you're dealing with is fighting a war against a vastly superior and more powerful foe. You have to fight smarter, not harder, and running headlong in some sort of kamikaze mission, that might sound great, but ultimately you're just going to lose your life and not really accomplish anything. But if you fight again smarter, you can actually do some damage. They actually managed to pretty much take out or at least seriously damage Cruiser by the end of this episode, which is pretty darn good, all things considered. But of course, this is Thrawn, so he gets to humiliate Constantine, and kind of gets a much better insight into Sato's mind. And Sato even grants him the point. It's like, okay, you wanted to understand me better. Well, now you do. But given that Sato is one of the major military guys in the rebellion, you kind of understand why Thrawn might see the losses here as acceptable, because if you understand your enemy, then you can take him out. And if that happens, well, in the long run, a loss of a transport and a cruiser isn't that big of a deal. I did like I can't even remember the name of the other two kids in the show from Iron Squadron. I did like the girl. I think she was called from the Felons, and I guess their best known member is one of the singers from Jabba's Palace. But they've popped up elsewhere around the expanded universe. From when we first saw her, she was kind of in shadows. I actually thought she was a Rock, but that's this didn't work out. Don't know, like the other the kid with the shaved head. I didn't really have much to say about him, but I did like that the two of them were the first to realize, like, you know what, maybe we really are in over our heads. It's also kind of interesting to see a little bit more human side of Sato. He basically, his nephew is the only family that he has left, and him having to deal with this personal aspect of the mission. I mean, it's nice to sort of see that they're willing to expand this whole, hey, this is personal, outside of our core characters. And it also gives Ezra and Sabine, some people more their own age to play around with. I mean, we've got Wedge and his buddies a couple of episodes back. So, it would be an interesting thing to see, sort of just like the teenagers of the rebellion sort of hanging out together and sort of seeing all of this from their perspective. Preferably during some sort of downtime sort of thing. Kind of like the Breakfast Club of the Rebellion. That would be pretty awesome. And if you have no idea what the Breakfast Club is, it's basically one of the best teenager movies ever made. You kind of have to accept the fact that this movie is from the 1980s. That does not change the fact that it is still a great movie about what it's actually like to be a teenager. It's a great movie. Funny I should be talking about this, given that one of the stars of that movie, Anthony Michael Hall, has just experienced some rather serious legal trouble, but them's the breaks. Anyway, guys, I think that covers everything I had to say about these episodes. So I'm going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, subscribe, and of course you can follow me on Twitter @HoosierJedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.